We have a great bit to offer here at All Souls, and the variety and the diversity is making us more attracted to each other and more attractive to others. We're on a real powerful move right now and in a great mood, and I've never been more excited to be in a part of something that is stimulated and stimulating, that is interesting and interested, that keeps us alive and alert and responsive and responsible. And I get bored fairly easy, and I'm getting, my attention span is not that long. I read about 8 or 10 books at the same time, because as soon as I lose inspiration, I read by inspiration, not for information. When I lose the inspiration, I'll shift book. I could read 3 or 4 or 6 chapters, and I might stop and read another one. So I'm a very confused person. My theme, my title today of the talk is, Can You Feel Me? And I'm thinking of a passage of scripture from the book of Hebrews that I've used many, many times in reference to Jesus, having been brought up in a fundamentalist background. 4 generations classical Pentecostalism. Now I call myself a Unicostal and a Metacostal, because I've bridged metaphysics and unification and universalism into my transcendent religion. And the passage is, for we do not have a high priest, the reference there is to Jesus, who is unable to empathize with our weaknesses. We do not have a high priest who cannot be touched, the King James says, with the feelings of our infirmities. We do not have a high priest who is unable to empathize with our weaknesses, our infirmities. The Greek word for infirmities means lack of strength, our inability to produce results. But we have one who has been tempted in every way, just as we are, yet without sin. The word suggests failure, or to withstand, or survive, to miss the point, or to miss the mark, or to miss the effort. When you pray, and just last week I was in Denver, Colorado for a America Meditates gathering of several thousand people from 80 different countries, and they were watching us live, and I was with the Sri Sri Ravi Shankar from India. And many of his followers people came from China and Hong Kong and Europe and different parts of the world. And there were several speakers, one of which was Marianne Williamson, who, as you know, a presidential candidate, and Michael Beckwith, who's a dear friend of mine from Los Angeles, myself and others. And there was a lot of diversity. And we had several meditation periods where we're very silent, so silent, you could hear people sleep. If you're not used to meditating, focusing in meditation, you will go to sleep. And that's good, it's okay. Music, as we talk about a lot, means to muse, comes from the word to muse, which means to think. To amuse is to stop thinking, and we need to know how to do both. We even need to know how to stop feeling. I can't tell you exactly how that is, but sometimes we numb our senses so we can become desensitized or unsensitive. 5 senses, sight and smell and touch. We don't sense something. Sometimes that means you're dead, or you're dying, or that you don't care. Some people intentionally desensitize themselves to avoid the pathos or the pain. You don't want to be sympathetic or empathetic. You don't want to feel. And that's because pain can be numbing. You get so used to the pain that you forget it's there. You habitually ignore it. And to ignore doesn't mean to not know, it means to not notice or to refuse to make note of. In other words, you're hurting so bad you can't change it, you just tune it out. People do that in marriage. People do that in parenting. People do that on their jobs. When it's a form of transcendence, when you can't manage a situation, you try to somehow escape it in whatever way you can. Now, some people will use a glass of wine or a shot of whiskey or snort some other drug. Some people just go to church. Some people just listen to jazz music or do all of that. We did it all this morning, except that nobody had a joint. But But we even come here trying to manage our feelings. And one thing that we like about being together is we're sure that our problems are similar. That we're all human beings being human, trying to navigate and negotiate this thing we call life, which many of you've heard me say many times is nothing much more than a sexually transmitted disease or dis-ease. It's an incurable one, but it's not untreatable. So we're all in treatment for the dis-ease or the tensions or the anxieties of just feeling. I'm learning that the universe may not judge us so much by what we feel as by what we think about what we feel. And what we think about what we think about. And then what we think about that. Because feelings generate. Like if you say, I feel cool or cold, I'll say, well, really, what do you think about that? Well, I think I'll put a jacket on. Oh, I'm feeling so hot and sweaty in here. Oh, really? Tell me what you think about that. I think I'm going to take something off. I'm going to go outside. I'm going to get a glass of water or ice water. Thoughts and feelings and emotions and devotions and commotions. Tension brings attention and creates intention. The best way for me to get along with anybody in any relationship is to feel as much as I can or try to empathize to feel what they're feeling. In my personal prayer life, I've never wanted God to answer my prayers as much as I wanted God to feel me. Who and whatever God is, if there's anything out there that listens and cares, I don't just want you to hear my words, I want you to feel my pain. Because you'll respond differently. You can talk to the person sitting next to you and say any words, but if they don't feel you, it's hard for them to respond in a meaningful way. They might nod or pat you, but if you feel something, I was driving, and our Uber driver in Denver, Majesty sang at this event in Denver. We were riding together in an Uber car, and I noticed when I called for the car, it said the lady likes conversation. So I started asking, which I often do, something about her life. Does she have family? Why is she driving an Uber? Because she was a fairly young woman. But she said, well, I have 5 children. I've been divorced 3 times. I was raised Mormon. I don't really like religion. I'm not sure about God. I ain't even crazy about Jews. She didn't say that part. I said, just drive, sweetheart. We'll be out of here in a few minutes. But tell me your story. Where are your kids? What is the age range? I want to feel you. I don't just want to hear you. Why are you hurting? How are you hurting? What does the pain feel like? And she began to very casually and calmly share her pathos. It was miserable because her mother is miserable and she's taking care of her mother, and her mother's in her 80s, but her mother has deadened her senses and doesn't feel the daughter and is angry. And they were both Mormons. She were raised into strict Latter-day Saints dogma. And so she says her kids don't want to have anything to do with church. Well, anyway, by the time she got through, and I let her do most of the talking, I got out of the car and I gave her just a couple of $100, which meant she could go home rather than keep working because she had small children and she was tired. And I did that because I wanted to feel, I didn't even tell her my name. I didn't try to tell her, she didn't know I was a minister. She knew nothing about me and didn't ask anything about me. And I was glad. I just wanted her to feel that if she thinks or prays, that the universe would respond to her pain through a stranger, which would give her a little sense of hope by not pushing anything on her but love or sympathy or empathy. A young woman being rejected by 3 different men or rejecting those 3 different men because it went both ways, having 2 of their children and they're small and she's driving and she's mixing her religious presuppositions. She was in pain. In the book Conversations with God, one of the things Neil Donald says is, when you're thinking about giving, why is it when you run your hands in your pocket, you pull out the largest bill, you move it until you can find the smallest one? When that 10 or that 20 or even that $100 bill should be what the universe would have wanted you to give that person at that time. I started doing that. I read that book almost 20 years ago, and I've done it ever since. I always pull the largest bill I have when I'm giving, regardless of the situation. And there's always another voice says, that's too much. She doesn't appreciate that. She doesn't even know who you are. She doesn't need it. There's never been a time, regardless of how much money I have in my pocket or in the bank, when I couldn't receive or appreciate another $10. Talk to me, somebody. Because money is very attractive. And anybody that gives it to you, your attitude about things, people who never pick up a penny or drop a dime and a quarter and never think about it, that means you don't care that much about money. And some people don't. But if you focus on getting needs met, not just for yourself, but for somebody else, and you really care, we're on our way up to a musical on the north side yesterday, and there were some young people at 41st and Yale collecting money for football. And I didn't notice it. Our driver, Sammy, did, and we stopped. We rushed quick in my pocket and rolled the window down and said, "Come and get it, son." Well, that kid would have had to get out into the street to get to us, so the coach came, and we gave them something that we thought would encourage them, because people are always hurting and always wanting and always needing, whether they recognize it or not. The people nearest you could appreciate a warm gesture. If you're in pain, imagine that the person near you also is in pain. And whatever you would want from somebody, they might and usually will want from you. Our whole world would be different if we could feel each other. Sometimes we never hear, we're just talking back and forth and making a lot of noise, but my whole relationship in spirituality has always been with my feelings, then my thoughts, and later my words. How do you feel? Turn to somebody and say, "How you feeling today?" Some of you didn't feel enough to even do that. I ain't doing nothing. I don't want to feel nobody. I'm in too much pain to feel somebody else's pain. In a somewhat indirect and subconscious way, I've desired and hoped, sometimes assumed, that people I love and whom I know love me would feel and or just at least sympathize for me, but really empathize, to identify. Love has become a sloppy word, a raggedy word, overused and overacted out. Just because somebody tells you they love you doesn't mean that they feel you. And that's what hurts us most in relationships. Nobody doubts that they are loved, but most people don't feel like they're liked. Most of you like your children. Love your children. I got two. And sometimes raising children, you can understand why some animals eat their young. A friend of mine said, the only reason God makes your kids look like you is so you won't eat them. There's never a question about love. It really isn't a question about love. Is as natural as breathing. You come here knowing, you come here loving, but liking is a choice. Liking is a decision. Liking is a preference. And when you care enough to feel, some people are too caring to daring, to be daring. You must dare to put your emotions out there. One of the ways I was able to get through my transition from radical fundamentalism, and I couldn't consider myself a recovering fundamentalist, one of the ways I was able to get through that is every criticism, every scripture that was thrown at me, every attitude, every harsh and hard word that was spoken, I already could identify with it because I know the thinking of the people who were attacking me. I used to live in that neighborhood, that same street, that same address. I knew what angles they were coming. I understand how some of the things I was saying and doing was shocking and stunning and assaulting and insulting to people. And I felt somewhat apologetic. So I was able to take the pain because I transferred my own emotions to theirs. I didn't become what they were, but I identified with them because I had probably said those same kinds of things about or to somebody before. That's how I get through the pain. When you understand, sometimes an apology is not even necessary. What is the movie Love Story? There's a powerful statement in it, and I'll never forget. It says, love means never having to say, I'm sorry. It doesn't mean never needing to say, I'm sorry. But you don't have to say it to somebody you really love and who loves you. If a baby, and you understand, if a baby drops something, you don't chide the child and scream and holler and have a fit if it's a little baby just fumbling around and dropping things, because you know the baby doesn't know what it's doing. You pick it up, you clean it up, you kiss the child. Sometimes you go, oh my goodness. But because you understand they are a baby, but if it's a full-grown person and they keep doing it, it's your spouse, you might grumble a little differently. You might hold a little bit of a judgment against them. It's always easier when you put yourself in the place of the hurting person. Can you feel me? What if you entered a congregation that was new to you culturally, dogmatically, denominationally, racially, or ethnically, or the character? What would, the way we would see people, and I taught in my church for many years, always try to feel the person sitting near you, sitting around you, identify. We come here to empathize and sympathize, not feeling sorry, but knowing how to feel sorrow. Talk to me, somebody. You don't have to feel sorry, but just feel my sorrow. Feel that I'm hurting. You know, if you're human, there's certain pains that go along with being human. There are tensions and anxieties that are unavoidable. When we come together and we say, turn to the person or touch the person, sometimes that's awkward, but we're saying, you let that person know the reason we're sitting here together, because we identify with the common understanding. That's what you call common unity, community, or communion, common union of human beings making a decision to live together in covenant, to feel each other, to deal with each other, to care about, care for each other, and express that concern. Sometimes that's just giving somebody a smile. Or if a person is standing before you, put yourself in my place. I try to put my little tie on, jacket on, try to look halfway decent, and keep your attention and smile. Yeah, but what you forget is I got to look at you just like you got to look at me. I need you to entertain me too. So do something. Thank you. I like those responses. And even on a bus or a train or in a mall or at a shopping center, in a restaurant, a little smile, a little nod. When you acknowledge the human being, you acknowledge and celebrate their personhood. That's why whenever I give, thank you. I always tell my children, when you see panhandlers, you don't ask whether or not they need money. It's obvious they do, but never just drop $1 or a dime or a quarter, a nickel, or $20 bill, 100 in the container without looking the person in the eye. At least acknowledge the humanness. Sometimes you roll the window down or you just throw something at us like the person doesn't exist. Sometimes what they would like better, they would even sometimes like a smaller gift and a smile, making human contact with them, feeling that could be you. I think I told you one time when we were living in Chicago, there was a Walgreens. I got greens and walls and mixed up. In walking distance from where we lived, and so we would go in and out, and there was a man sitting on the corner begging. We lived in a downtown in one of the very nice areas of that city, very near Navy Pier, within walking distance, and we could see Lake Michigan, and we were 1 block away from the magnificent Mile, and this guy a black man was sitting out there panhandling, and my children have always seen me give, because I want them to learn how to give, but I always acknowledge the person, smile, and sometimes even ask their name. How you doing, man? How's it going today? While I'm fumbling through, trying to find the largest bill. But I said to my son, now, watch how Dad does it. When Julie was like 15, I said, that man is going to be here a lot. I'm not going to tell you when. I'm not going to tell you how. I am going to teach you to give, but at some point, and you decide when, I want you to stop, make eye contact, look the man in the face, sit there and talk to him for however long the conversation goes. He said, I'll do it, Dad. And like the next time. And I was in a hurry, and I had to stand there and wait till him to sit. I said, at least choose a time when I ain't got something to do, dude. But he sat there and had a wonderful, probably 3 to 5 minute conversation. Found out that the guy had a couple of PhDs, he had gone through a number of divorces, that he had been in the Army, and he just told the whole story. And the guy, I think it healed the man. And then, of course, we started hanging with him a lot and found out he was intelligent, he was bright. There were times when you could tell he was mentally deranged and in another world. We try to bring him back into reality by saying, where are your children? Where do you live? How long are you going to be here? What are you going to do in the wintertime? I said, I want you to feel him. You may never, and I hope you never are ever in your life a panhandler. But my son was so stunned that this man actually had college training, was married, formerly married, and had 3 children, I think. And about 3 weeks later, they changed the rules around, and those people couldn't be near where we lived. And my son said, thank you, Dad. I would have never known to feel what that man felt. Feeling is important. Feeling the ones you love, understanding that they might be forgetful, or they might, my sweet little mother, my mother's 90 years old. She's not going to remember everything, and she doesn't. And so I put myself in her place because I'm going to be 90. I hope. My mother had 7 children. Usually women that have that many children don't live that long. She had, all of her pregnancies were difficult. She was nauseous the whole time. They were horrible. She said she was in constant pain, constant anxiety. I almost cry when I think of what my mother went through to birth 7 children, and the first one died within a matter of a few hours. All the way to us. By the time she got to me, she said she was tired of marriage, tired of children, tired of life, and wished that she could have aborted me. I need therapy. I need counseling because Mama didn't want me. She says, now she says, and you're the one that takes care of me. See what you get, Mama, for not aborting. Abortion wasn't legal 66 years ago, but she was a young woman. She was an only child. All of a sudden, she has 6 kids. So today, I'm not offended by that at all, because not only some people think about aborting the children they're pregnant with, some of you think about aborting the children you have. And when I got 2, I understood that thoroughly. I never cared. I remember when we were when I was going the training with my wife for having children, I had to go to some place and stick my hand in a bucket of ice water and hold it there as long as I could, so that the father could understand the pain that the mother goes through in childbearing. And of course, I had no idea what to anticipate, but I put my hand in there, and Gina put her hand in there, and you knew I wasn't going to let her, I wasn't going to take my hand out. I would have died before I let her get her hand out of there before me. Now, part of that was ego and competition, but I felt her pain, and I wanted to feel that pain, and I salute her. On my children's birthday, I salute her because they wouldn't be here if it wasn't for her. On Mother's Day and on Father's Day, I give her something because if it wasn't for her, I'd not be a father. I just wish she'd be as sensitive to me as I am to her. All right. Wrap your arms around yourself and feel you. Before I say, can you feel me? I'll end with asking you, can you feel you? If you would have the same empathy or sympathy for yourself, I'm not talking about the normal self-pity, value your feelings, analyze them. And even if something dies, like a relationship, do an autopsy. Try to study not just what the thing died of, but what caused the cancer, what caused the disdain, or what caused the rejection, what caused the stress, or the congestive heart failure. What caused that marriage to fail, or that business to fail, or for you to fall out of love or like with a loved one? Do a little investigative study. Autopsy is autonomous, means you study yourself. You want to know for yourself why I'm not getting along with my kid, or my boss, or my employees, or why I don't like me. It's important, even at this age, to do that investigative, excavative work and see what happens. I bless you. I love you. I believe in you. I respect you. And I identify you with you. I feel your pain. I switch nationalities and races sometimes. I try to figure out what it would be to vote for Donald Trump. I put myself in that position. I still haven't figured that one out, but I try. That way I will prejudge every Trump voter. God bless you and keep you. I love you. We'll see you again next time.
You are on a clear day, how it will astound. the glow of your being outshines every star. You'll feel part of every mountain, sea, and shore. You can hear from far and near a word you never ever heard before. And on that clear day, on that clear day, you can see forever and ever and ever and evermore.
Hey, we're so happy you're visiting with us online today. We love connecting with people all across the country and around the world, sharing our powerful message of love beyond belief.
There's something new happening here. You can now join All Souls as a virtual member. Our virtual membership is designed for friends who live outside of Tulsa, Oklahoma, and who want to engage with All Souls in a meaningful way.
You can be part of an expanding family, a global family really, wherever you are. If you live in Oklahoma,
Ohio,
or Orange County, California,
Canada,
or Cameroon. By becoming a virtual member, you'll be able to deepen your connections with members and friends here in Tulsa and with members wherever you are.
Each week, you'll receive special All Souls content tailored for you, our virtual members. Virtual members have access to pastoral care, to personal prayers, and also receive invitations to exclusive web events.
You can learn more, and if you're ready, you can become a virtual member today by visiting allsoulschurch.org/virtual membership.
We're grateful our ministries are having a positive impact on your life, and we want to share the good news of love beyond belief with more and more people. So no matter what, we need your support to keep this ministry growing and thriving, so please consider making a gift today. You can do so by texting
Love BB for Love Beyond Belief to 73256, or simply visit our website. You are a blessing in our lives. May you be blessed.
and be a blessing.